that mean that I just need to start like plucking leaves off the ground and stringing them up on the shutters? Like, I don't know what she's expecting from the average women. Mrs. Midwest, please, you gotta give us a working definition. Hello and welcome to Unreligiously. My name is Lauren, and today I am super excited to be going through someone that I've been deep diving for a while now, not publicly, but on my own to get as much information for you guys as possible. Mrs. Midwest. You've definitely heard about her before, but as you guys know on my channel, I don't like to do an entire deep dive on an entire person, especially when it comes to breaking down religion or religious topics or about how religion might impact their viewpoints. It can be hard to cover things in an hour-long video if you're going to talk about all of their different beliefs. And so in today's video, I'm so excited to talk to you about purity culture and about femininity, about being a feminine woman and what that means to somebody who is in this trad wife style sphere or who just believes like Mrs. Midwest. So we're going to dive right into it. I'm going to play you guys some clips and I'll be reacting along the way. In the meantime, if you like this video or you've seen any of my content before, you'd like to see more like this, please make sure that you are subscribed to my channel, hit like on this video, and drop a comment. It can be a dove or another white bird because that's my logo below, because it does really help boost the engagement. Before we dive right in, I do want to let you guys know how this is going to be structured. We are going to look at a few of her older videos. She's been on the internet for over a decade, okay? Mrs. Midwest has a huge internet footprint, and so I do want to show you some of those older videos as well, but I don't want anyone to say, well, those videos were, 8 years ago, those videos were 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and so I also do have one of her most recent videos, and that's going to be the bulk of what we're focusing on today, where she does talk about femininity and being a feminine woman and what that means. All right, enough of that. Let's jump right into it and see what Mrs. Midwest has to say.
We are going to be discussing femininity within romantic relationships. Now, at the very beginning of my channel, when I was first striking upon the topic of femininity, before it was really even that popular on YouTube, I made a femininity series and I did make a video about femininity within relationships. And then I kind of did not discuss it again for the rest of the time I've been on YouTube. And part of that is because I didn't quite feel that I was a master at the subject. Not that I am now, but I feel like I have more to offer to the conversation now. 5 years married, much more experienced as a wifey, much more experienced in a long-term romantic relationship.
First off, I do just want to establish some terms and talk about a few things. First of all, femininity. What is femininity to me? I hate this word, to be honest, because to me, a lot of things can be feminine, but that doesn't mean that it is your calling, okay? Like girly, feminine, these are interchangeable words, womanly maybe, but feminine traits are something that everybody can have, just like I have masculine traits and feminine traits, and just like she, Mrs. Midwest, has masculine and feminine traits. And what often stands out to me about the difference in how I view femininity and that definition in the way that somebody like Mrs. Midwest would view femininity and what that means is that I think that I am a feminine person because of my personality, and to me, it's about how I present myself. It's about, for me, presenting with, trying to present with love and compassion and caring, nurturing, caring for other people, being gentle. I think that you can be feminine and still be confident. I think you can be feminine and still be a CEO. I think that you can be, but I think to me, feminine is a lot more, and I think there can be feminine men too, right? So this term, I don't like how they use it, but femininity to me is more about how you present yourself. And to me, Mrs. Midwest, she presents almost like it's like a cosplay, like an outfit for her femininity. And a lot of these trad wife style content creators also do this. And yeah, I know that I don't dress the most feminine, okay? I don't dye my hair. You guys have watched me cut my own hair on camera. I do get my nails done, but that is completely 100% because of the generosity and kindness of my future mother-in-law, who I love. Yeah, but like I wouldn't describe myself, I dress in hoodies a lot, in sweatpants. I'm working from home -- unemployed, so I don't dress the most feminine, but I do think part of femininity too, it's like the nurturing, the caring. So part of that goes for myself. My hair is always clean. I do wear makeup during the day. I don't think you have to do that, but like I take care of my personal hygiene, right? And I'm making sure that I'm wearing clean clothes. I'm not wearing the clothes that I went to sleep in during the day. I make sure that my space is whatever. Okay. So to me, femininity is more about who you are and the way that the way that your true self presents to other people, okay? It's not just like it's not an act you put on, it's not an outfit you put on, but people like her, they think the long blonde hair, constantly being done up, ensuring that you're doing everything you can to make sure that your man is staying sexually attracted to you 100% of the time, wearing pink, floral colors, like trying to dumb yourself down, trying to follow the lead of your husband even when you know he's wrong, just because that's going to be the more feminine thing. All of those things, it seems to me, we'll get more into it as we watch her and let her speak for herself, but I think there's a difference there in how I view femininity and how she would. I would actually view her version of femininity, where they do a lot of dressing up and like intense makeup, and they're very rigid about their personality. That actually comes off as not feminine. It just feels like they want to have like a hyper feminine outfit on. But to me, people like Mrs. Midwest, and this is something that kept striking me throughout these videos, so let me know what you guys think, but it kept striking me how masculine her personality is. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, I think everybody has masculine and feminine qualities to them. And maybe you watch my stuff and you go, Lauren, you're masculine, like you're a very masculine woman. Okay, right? Like that's fine. I don't really have an issue with that. I don't think that these things are assigned as like good or bad. But for someone who does believe that it is good versus bad, Mrs. Midwest, I do think that she is extremely masculine in the way that she presents. It's very rigid in her appearance, very rigid in her behavior. You don't feel a lot of warmth coming off of her, a lot of compassion coming off of her. That's just my opinion. So that's kind of what I wanted to start out with, and just let you guys know from the beginning, when I'm talking about whether, masculine or feminine traits, neither good nor bad. There's nothing, they're neutral terms, and we're just describing, and my perception is obviously different than her perception, which might be different than your perception. So let this just be a conversation starter. None of this is meant to offend. This is really meant to talk about the hyper femininity that is kind of pushed in these Christian cultures, even though Mrs. Midwest, I believe, is not technically Christian. She is still religious, though, like Judeo-Christian. All right, let's keep going.
As always, please leave your advice in the comments below. I know that we have so many women in the feminine family who've been married much longer than your girl has, and I know that there is going to be even better advice found in the comments below. Now, if you're on my channel, you know that we love to talk about femininity because it resonates with us. Now, my channel, the purpose of it is not to say every woman must be feminine or every woman must be feminine in this way. No, the purpose of my channel is to be a safe haven for women who already relate with these concepts. So it's not a tips and tricks for how to force people to be like this in relationships. It's for people who are interested in these topics, or for people who find themselves marginalized by their femininity and perhaps wanting to seek out ways to be more confident in it because it makes us happy. So
the only time that I see women being what they may describe as marginalized in their femininity in like a Christian conservative setting that she would be in. For example, I'm not talking about other communities because that's not where Mrs. Midwest is coming from. But And I don't know, I just don't see her catching a lot of flack for dressing that way. I will also point out that she's made a comment several times now about how being married for a few years has given her insight on femininity. And while I do appreciate that in this last clip that I just showed you, she does say not everybody, this isn't for everybody if they don't want to be this way. I do appreciate her saying that. However, for those of us that grew up in the church, you know that this is pushed. You know that you can say, like, it's like the free gift of God, right? It's like saying, yeah, it's up to you. You have to decide to take it. But if you don't take it, then it's like you're a sinner. You are actively rejecting God's love. You are deserving of hellfire. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so it's the same concept with femininity in these cultures. It's like, if you're not being feminine, this ties back to her talking about marriage. If you're not being feminine, how are you going to be encouraging your husband to be more masculine? Because these opposites are what, I don't know, make each other stronger or apparently enhance each other according to people like Mrs. Midwest. And so if you're not being more feminine, then why is your husband going to need to be the contrast to that and be even more masculine? My final point here before I let her continue is just that the only time that I see women catching any sort of negativity or just like being feminine in her version, which is dressing feminine, is if they drag it into being childlike, if they start dragging it into needing their husband to tie their shoes for them. I mean, I made a video on the princess treatment woman from TikTok. It says princess treatment on the cover. If you guys want to go find that video, I'll link it at the end. In that video, my critique isn't that you want to have like some submissive relationship with your husband. I don't personally have an issue with what you guys do in your private bedrooms. The issue is that you are telling other women that femininity looks like your husband brushing your teeth for you every single night. Right? Like, it's a little bit weird. That, to me, it starts to put an unrealistic standard on men, which already the church puts unrealistic standards both on men and women in marriage. And so this just makes it even harder. I also think that living each day like a performance, like you have to be performing your gender. And I'm not trying to take this into other conversations, but if you guys feel like it relates and you have similarities to share with this, please do let me know. But having to perform femininity or like what you think your version of being a woman is supposed to look like sounds exhausting. I do certain things that maybe like I have socks that have like frilly edges on them and I love them. And I'm like, oh, these make me feel girly. I don't know. But it's like, I also want to still brush my own teeth and pay my own bills, and I also want to be equal partners. You know what I mean? And like my fiance might like occasionally, like he likes to chop wood. So it's like he can go chop wood, but whatever. You guys get what I'm trying to say. I'll let her keep going. But I do appreciate her trying to say that you don't have to be this way, but the reality is if you grow up in this culture, you're told that you do have to be this way, and so she's saying it's for the people that want that, but if you grow up in this sphere, you're told you're supposed to want that. So it's kind of, to me, it's like meaningless a little bit, but appreciated.
That being said, why femininity in relationships? Isn't this quite obvious? Shouldn't you just wear high heels? Shouldn't you just put the lipstick on, bake the cookies, do those feminine power moves, and call it a day? And the thing is
that feminine to you guys? It's just cracking me up because I'm hearing that and I'm like, okay, like my fiance does a lot of the cleaning on weekends. He loves to like deep clean. And so we've kind of set up a thing where I try to do more of the like maintenance, like I vacuum every single day, I do the dishes, I do the laundry, you know what I mean? And then he does like the deep cleaning on the weekends and it works out great, especially because he genuinely puts in like last weekend, he literally cleaned all weekend. Like he likes to do it. I do the cleaning too. I bake bread. I only like to eat homemade bread, which is kind of a specific weird thing. I don't know why. I have a lot of health problems that are in the process of getting figured out, but like store-bought bread makes me feel like shit, and so I started making my own bread. My mom also, as a wonderful, wonderful homeschool mother, we had fresh bread all the time. And so the smell of fresh bread is really nostalgic to me. And it's like lower calorie, not that this matters, but it's like lower calorie, but then it just tastes so much better, you guys, that like I'll eat it as a meal. So that to me is not that's just like a hobby that doesn't make me feminine. I don't know. Like, maybe I just don't know what femininity is. I'm gonna look up the definition quick for us. Like, me baking bread does not feel... It says qualities or attributes regarded as characteristic of women or girls. Okay, I guess, like, yeah, like, cooking and baking could be more attributed to women, but I don't think that any man sees a woman who, like, says, yeah, I only allow us to eat homemade bread, that's gonna be like... Hell yeah, that's the kind of woman I've been looking for. Like, that's not, like, no one is, I'm getting too lost in the sauce. All right.
Yes, you can do those superficial feminine acts and activities, but what I'm going for today and in this video is kind of creating a self-feeding cycle of femininity within your relationship. So where you can nurture that feminine spirit you have within you, and it can kind of just be a natural thing that you feed into, and it feeds into your relationship, and it also enhances your man's masculinity, because there is a polarization that happens in relationships. When you become a little bit more feminine, you might notice your man stepping into his masculinity a little bit more. And I know
yeah, this is what I was talking about before. This is really common in Christian circles to say, is your man not leading spiritually? Is he not leading in the household? Is he not stepping up to be a provider and a protector? Look at yourself. Are you filling any of those roles as the woman? Because in that way, you might actually be emasculating him. And then if you can make sure that you're not doing any of his jobs, like the masculine role things, then you need to look at, well, am I fulfilling? Because if I'm dead in the middle and I'm just like amorphous, whatever, then he's going to meet me in the middle. But if I get a little more feminine, then to create that distance, to create that like difference that we apparently naturally crave, he's going to go here. If you go a little more feminine, a little more masculine. That's not true. It's not true. An example. So in past relationships, I have dated people where I was definitely the better choice to handle finances, okay? I was definitely the person that needed to be more type A in the relationship. I was definitely the person that had to be more communicative. Like, I may have filled more of a masculine role, okay, in those relationships, because yes, you work out an individual dynamic with every person that you end up with, and if there's certain gaps and you fill them, that's how you form a partnership, right? Like, you fill those gaps. And so for me, I ended up having to fill more of these typically masculine roles, but I still think that I was feminine and am feminine and was in those relationships. In my relationship now, I feel like I can be more stereotypically feminine because in a lot of ways, my fiance he's incredibly generous. He does take care of me in a lot of ways. There's not a lot that I have to do. I really, like, my cleaning is pretty much like my only responsibility from him. And that's really, really wonderful. And I'm so grateful, genuinely. And so I can be a little bit more feminine. I have more money to do things like getting my hair cut at a salon if I want to, or getting clothes that I feel good and fit me well, whatever it may be. But I don't think that I am more feminine or masculine because of that, and I don't think that those people were more feminine or masculine because of that. And I think it's weird that they think that you can change other people by just becoming the opposite, right? Like, if you start dating a man who is extremely stressed out by finances and, like, really only wants to work a part-time job, and that's just where he's at, you becoming extremely feminine and starting to just rely on him financially is not, trust me guys, it's not going to push him to be more of what you are envisioning as like this masculine breadwinner. And so I think it puts an unfair burden on women, because women watching this content are going to try to change themselves in order to change their husbands. And I just don't think that that's realistic. I think you can maybe change yourself to change someone else if you're having really open communication about it and both committed, but I don't think just like putting on more dresses is going to change your life.
A lot of women in this community are interested in how they can foster their man's masculinity. And I get that question a lot. And I know it kind of seems tempting, you know, I want my man to be more masculine. Should I just go like tell him that? Or should I point out other masculine men to him and say, oh, I find that attractive? No, 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 no. What we need to be doing is enhancing our femininity, because that will naturally encourage your man to become more polarized to you. And the reason why this can be really beneficial is because
no. If you become more feminine in whatever that looks like for you, maybe that will make your husband or spouse or whatever feel more masculine. Maybe they'll feel that difference more. Maybe compared to you, they'll feel more masculine. But they're not going to go, oh, I should start like lifting weights and picking up more shifts and bringing home flowers all the time. It just doesn't really work that way. Unless, again, like if you're having an open conversation with them and saying, this is really what I need and here's how I think I can do my part, and hopefully as I do my part, you'll feel that feeling and like that and want to like lean into it more too. But you can't make anyone do anything. And also, I think that it is in a way kind of more of a masculine trait to try to be controlling your husband's personality. And again, I don't attribute femininity or masculinity to positivity or negativity at all. When I'm saying they're more feminine or masculine, I'm not saying that is a negative thing.
Because personally, take my story for example, I find that I'm much more at peace and joyful when I can just rest in my femininity in our relationships, when I don't have to take on the role of leading things, when I don't have to make the hard decisions, when I don't have to be forced into like a mode of protecting the family or providing for the family. You know, I am a traditional stay-at-home mom, homemaker, and my husband makes the lion's share of the income for us, and so I get to rest back and, you know, focus on nurturing my kids and my creativity and myself. I know a lot of modern people really enjoy the egalitarian style of relationship. I have many friends who practice their relationships that way, but I know there's a lot of people who just don't relate with that. So femininity in relationships is ultimately about embracing the concept of being nurturing to yourself and to your man, and being kind of that feminine sounding board for him.
And that's where we would agree. I think that, like I said earlier, I see it as this more personality type thing, not something that you're acting out. But to me, there's nothing nurturing about trying to change who someone is. If anything, if you're dating a man that's more feminine, if you are feminine, you'd want to nurture that and help take care of him in that as well. Do you know what I'm saying? There's nothing feminine about trying to change someone. And it's okay, you guys, if you want this type of relationship and you meet someone and you go, you know what, this is just, they don't have like that personality style, or this isn't exactly how I want things to go. I think it's better to just acknowledge that there's nothing wrong with wanting that style of relationship, but don't marry someone and then try to make them more masculine or make them more feminine. How hurtful. How hurtful. And to change someone on a core level like that, like I said, there have been relationships where I've had to pull on certain different traits, and maybe you can, with open communication, encourage them to lean into certain things. Like, I really like it when you do X, Y, Z, whatever. But don't go into relationships to change anyone. It's just, it's going to end in hurt for both of you.
That honestly, that inspiring presence in his life that pushes him to be better, to achieve more, to be ambitious. Femininity is actually very powerful. And that's another reason why I love discussing this topic, is because it's a quiet, powerful presence in your life, but also your man's life, that can often inspire him to achieve more, to do more, as he seeks to provide or to protect you or to whatever, be masculine in your relationship. And like I said at the top of the video, it's not just about checking boxes. It's not just about, okay, today I gotta wear my high heels, put on my pearls, and bake some cookies. I think a lot of people, that's kind of a caricature that they have of a traditional relationship. Like they always say, are we entering a time machine back to the 1950s? Like they love to make fun of traditional roles and
Yes. Yes, we do. And I appreciate her saying this, but once again, they still promote this type of thinking in the way that they talk. Yes, it's not just about how you dress. That's my opinion. It's about who you are. But then Mrs. Midwest herself goes on to talk about dress and how doing certain things are going to make you be more. It's a lot of it is about filling roles that you might not naturally be filling otherwise. So how is that not an act? If it doesn't come naturally for you to do a ton of baking and make homemade bread all the time, who cares? If it's that, for me, I love it, you guys. I love doing it. I love doing it. All right. I love to crochet. Like I have some granny hobbies that I just love doing. Is every woman going to want to crochet and bake bread? No. And they shouldn't want to, because that would be boring, okay? We need people to do different things. It's hard when you watch videos like these and you come from a Christian background. I'm sure a lot of you guys feel this too, where you hear them saying the right things, but then you go, but wait, just 5 minutes ago, you were also adding on all of this stuff that contradicts this. So it's like, while I do appreciate her saying that, it's kind of not true when they don't actually follow through with it or when all of their other advice directly contradicts it.
Relationships, but there's actually a lot of substance there, especially when it brings out the best in you and the best in your man. And it's more than just baking those cookies. It's about finding joy and nurturing yourself so that you can ultimately have a happy, functioning, thriving relationship. So the first way I think that we can enhance our femininity.
Yeah, first of all, I would just say, okay, before we get too much further into this, if you are not the woman who wants to do those things, don't do them. If you are, like, I hate grocery shopping. Yes, I like to bake bread and crochet. I literally would rather cut my big toe off than step foot in a grocery store. I order my groceries, okay? Most of the time. There's like a free delivery service with our grocery store. So I order my groceries, okay? I don't like to go grocery shopping. I don't like to go look over, browse over. No, I don't like to do that. So I don't do that. And so I don't think you should have to put yourself in these situations where you have to do that. Maybe if you can afford it. I looked one time at hiring a cleaner for somebody when they got married to be like, hey, we can, while you're on your honeymoon, we'll have cleaners go in, and that way you don't have to worry about cleaning before you leave on your honeymoon. Super affordable, okay, you guys, especially if you're doing it like for deep cleaning once a month. If you can put in like $100, $150 once a month, I shouldn't say that's super affordable, but if you get your nails done or you do other things, like this might be something that you could afford to work in. You do not have to do these things to be a woman. And I don't like how strict some of these gender roles are, or whatever. I'll let her keep going, but it just remember as she goes through this, remember all of the pieces of advice that she's saying and how it conflicts. I always encourage you guys when we do these videos to think about how you would actually apply the advice to your life. Don't just be like, this is bad advice. Think, okay, if I were to apply it, how would I actually apply it? Because that is the best way for you to start to feel that confusion and shame, or get an idea of that confusion and shame that Christians or religious people might feel watching a video like this, because there are so many contradictions. There's no way you're gonna get this right. It's like, if your husband's not masculine, it's because you're actually not feminine enough. And if you're not doing these things, well, that's your job as the feminine one. The advice is not practical.
And live into it in our romantic relationships is by doing things for yourself. I used to think that femininity in relationships had a lot to do with, I'm going to, like I said, fill this role. I'm going to do all the chores so you don't have to. You just work and I'll take care of things at home, and I gotta do all the laundry on time, and I gotta work in the kitchen, and I gotta make sure I look amazing all the time, and I have to, like I said, feel this kind of caricature of what it means to be the feminine person in the relationship. But since getting wiser, older, becoming a mother, reading The Empowered Wife, that book I've been talking about constantly on my channel, since those changes, I've learned that you can actually find so much more joy and femininity, peace in your relationship by doing things for yourself. Now, does this mean the laundry goes forgotten for months on end? No, but it does mean prioritizing self-care, prioritizing activities.
Once again, I agree with what she's saying in word alone, but in practice, this doesn't really make sense. For most women, right, they don't have a ton of extra money coming in, especially if they're newly married religiously and they have kids, right? Like, they don't have a ton of this extra money laying around to do extra nice things for themselves. They might be homeschooling, which is greatly pushed and encouraged in these circles. When do you find the time to do these things for yourself? When do you get the money to do those things for yourself if you're a stay-at-home mom and your husband is the breadwinner and you guys have 6 children? So I get what she's saying, but I think, again, in practice, it does kind of turn itself around on its head and go, why aren't you prioritizing your own self-care? Why aren't you prioritizing yourself? You can't take care of your kids if you don't take care of yourself, mama. When are they supposed to be doing that exactly?
For yourself, your own hobbies, because the fact is, your man, when he met you, you had your own life going on. You had your own activities, your own friends, your own hobbies, whatever. And when he courted you, he got to see you in that mode where you were living your life and you had those elements in your life. And sometimes in romantic relationships, and as we add babies and responsibilities and our family, we sometimes lose the things that make us happy, the hobbies, the self-care.
It's the time, once again, especially for women who work in addition to all of these things, right? They lose the time. Women don't just lose themselves and stop liking doing things or taking care of themselves. That's not reality.
Care, all of those kind of things. So a way that we can nurture ourselves and by extension our femininity and live into joy and happiness and creativity, those really like strong pillars of femininity, is by fostering our own hobbies, our own life. And they don't have to be crazy intense. It doesn't also have to be super frippy girly. You don't have to go make crochet dolls on the weekend unless that's what you love to do, but it can be reading, exercising. I like to go for walks and listen to podcasts. I like listening to audio fiction and getting lost in fictional stories, fantasy. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just something that makes me happy. And when a woman in her relationship is just happy, that in itself brings a lot of feminine energy, that bubbly.
Yeah, I would agree that it does, but again, you have to have the setup to do those things, and most women are not just playing in fields with their kids all day. They're not out running around in the sunlight. They're like working full time. They're trying to manage the house. They literally have to put off doctor's appointments for themselves and annual screenings and things that are really important because they don't have the time. Where are they going to then find the time to go for long walks and listen to fantasy novels without their children? Do you understand what I'm saying? So again, it's not that I necessarily disagree with the words. Sure, of course, anyone, like, I want to be married to a happy spouse. That's going to make my relationship better. And my fiance wants me to be happy, right? Because that's going to make our relationship better. But at the same time, I can't expect him to be tirelessly day and night just getting shit done and trying to impress me and then expect him to still have energy to be happy and whatever. Especially in the modern day that we live, where people are sharing bills. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just the burden on one person and then the woman can just be like, I don't know. It just feels not realistic, and it puts the blame on women for not being happy or not being more carefree, not being whimsical. And it's like, you're not, because you're overburdened, but also you're not a child anymore. It's okay if you don't want to do those things.
Happiness and a huge way that you can foster that joy and that just happy spirit that your kids and your husband are just going to be drawn to like a moth to the flame is by keeping things in your life for yourself. hobbies, ways that you can exude your creative energy. I like to do that through home decorating. A great example I have of this is I have two different homemaking friends who I think foster amazing femininity in their relationships. The first one, and they could not be more different. So the first one is my friend Angel. She has an Instagram, but she is like a homesteading mama. She has cows she milks. She makes butter from scratch. She is amazing at the homesteading life, but she is just filled with so much joy. And she's grown her own food and she brings her kids in on the adventure, and it's wonderful. And then I have my friend over in Japan, Rune, and she has an Instagram as well. And she is a housewife over there, and her hobbies revolve around kawaii fashion and exploring Japan and different little vacations she goes on. And she shops with her daughter, and she has her little clothing store, and she has her social media blog, and it's beautiful, and it's very different from the homesteading, kind of thing.
And I like that she's giving comparisons here of what femininity can look like, but once again, what do these women have in common? They have financial backing and support. One of them is able to homestead, which is not cheap and is not super lucrative most of the time, and to have your feminine creative hobby be kawaii fashion. I don't know who Rune is, so I'm not trying to demean anyone at all, but most women can't just suddenly start getting into kawaii fashion and even affording these types of outfits. They're expensive, you guys. And I think it is unrealistic for most women in the modern day and age who are working, who have kids, to find the time to do these things. I think that we do need genuine change on a structural level on how families operate in the United States for it to work, because people are overworked and overstressed and overtired, and there's really not a huge way around it unless one of you does make a ton of money. And even then, it is, obviously there's still a lot of stressors with that. And so I just don't feel like it is realistic advice for the average woman. And I think that it would make me feel really bad if I was a working mom listening to this going, okay, so I'm exhausted, and now, okay, the way to exude creative feminine energy is I have to tack on redecorating my entire home. That would just feel like a chore to me. That wouldn't be fun to me. I like that she's acknowledging that people can have these different interests, but once again, you have to have the time to do it. I can bake bread and crochet right now because I'm working from home and I don't have kids. Not everybody has that privilege. It's a privilege, and I recognize that.
But it makes her happy, and it fosters her femininity. And what I'm trying to get at here is you can be rolling in the mud with the cows or you could be selling clothes online. It doesn't matter what the hobby is. Fostering the things that make you happy and being productive and just filled with that creative energy, that brings out your femininity in your relationship. So keep things for yourself. Now, also take me for example. I am not in amazing cool Japan selling amazing clothes and doing my thing. I am not breaking cows and growing vegetables. Honestly, I don't think I'll ever have a vegetable garden. I'm just making videos on YouTube and writing and reading.
All right, so that wraps up that clip, and that one to me really just focuses on, for you guys, these standards that they make sound really achievable and advice that sounds really good, but doesn't really function that way. Again, even that end part there, talking about fostering creativity, I think that's helpful for anyone. I think that everybody should try to do things that make them feel creative, even if that's exploring outside, going out and hiking, even if that's whatever it may be. This is the only period of my life where I've truly been able to really do that. Truly, because I have had to support myself since I turned 18 years old. And as you can imagine, having no financial backing from 18 years old, that makes it very difficult. I didn't have health insurance. I didn't have money for groceries. I didn't have money for hygiene products. The last realistic thing for me during that time was to decide how I could better develop my creativity. There was no time. I was working over full time. I was enrolled in college full time. And I get it's just a phase of life, but if I would have watched a video like this and been okay, yeah, I'm going to do these things, it would have just made me feel like a failure. Yeah, of course I'm not attracting masculine, not that I wanted to at that time, but of course I'm not attracting masculine men. I'm not feminine at all. I'm super masculine. I'm working all the time. I don't do anything creative. All I can do is work and sleep and whatever. Like, no, I don't even have money. No, I can't take care of myself. I cut my own hair and I can't afford to dye it. And I literally can't even afford groceries, or I had to forgo groceries because I got my period this week and my tampons were the grocery budget, literally. Okay, you guys, this is what we're talking about. So I know a lot of you guys can relate to that. With that, I just think that these views are a little bit unrealistic. In this next clip, she definitely goes more into what I would consider the aesthetics of femininity and telling you how you should behave. As we've seen throughout the previous clip, she does give a lot of disclaimers about saying not everyone has to be this way, but it does fall in line with biblical womanhood. So if you are religious, you should want to be this way at the very least. But let's get into the second clip where she talks a little bit more about this.
But a lady is charming, she's confident, she's sure of herself. She gets caricatured throughout media and entertainment as someone who's overly stuffy, someone who doesn't have a backbone or a voice. But in reality, I feel like ladylike behavior can actually amplify your voice as a feminine woman, give you the confidence you need to enter any room, and also help you navigate normal social situations, workplace environments, whatever, with charisma and charm and elegance. And I know many of us might be wondering, Caitlin, have you not heard the statement, well-behaved women rarely make history? And I know this is in the Instagram bios for many people. It's been very inspirational. And what I'm saying today is not that you can't go against the grain. I'm not saying you can't stand up for what's right. But what I am saying is that ladylike behavior and charm, it's not just about following the rules and obeying bad people. It's about carrying yourself with confidence. And yes, we do need people to go against the grain, like the Joan of Arc or Harriet Tubman. But there's also women throughout history and modern history that we can look up to who are the epitome of ladylike behavior. Whether or not you agree with their platforms or who they are, I tend to think of Kate Middleton, Oprah, Jackie O. There's so many examples of modern people who exude ladylike charm, charisma, who have been wildly successful, and that's what I want to help you guys discuss today. Now, you guys know that I
hard time with this because in this type of lifestyle, they do tell you that you should homeschool your kids, you should be a stay-at-home mom, and third and final, most importantly, that you should be subservient to your husband at all times. And so I do appreciate and agree with, once again, everything that she's saying here, but what is the point of being a confident one, like all of these things, when actually in practice you're not allowed to make any decisions for yourself? It's, once again, it feels like a bit more of an act, because if you follow this culture, you are first going to be always subservient to God, of course, but then you're going to be subservient to first your father and then your husband. You are always going to be ruled over by a man. And so, yes, you can have this confidence, and I do think that conducting yourself in a classy way protects you in a lot of ways. But my confidence, what I'm capable of achieving is really meaningless if that is all going to be dictated by my spouse. I'll allow her to continue here, but let me know if you guys understand what I'm saying, because what I'm trying to point out is how easy it is on the face of these teachings a lot of times to get sucked in, to say, this sounds really good. I want to be feminine. I want to make my partner feel more masculine. It could be easy to get into this type of mindset, but I think that it can do a lot of harm, because if you don't think it through in full, it sets you up for this failure and shame loop where you're constantly trying, but you're never really going to be set up to succeed.
I am a stay-at-home mom. That's my major focus. And I know a lot of my audience, you're homemakers, so you might be thinking, well, I don't want to bust down doors in my career, so is this video for me? Yes, ladylike behavior affects you in all aspects of your life. It can...
Again, so I hate to cut it so short, so I'll keep this short. But being a stay-at-home mom is a very different lifestyle than being a working mom. And that is not to demean the work of stay-at-home moms, okay? Since I started working remotely, that meant that I took on more of a role at home because I'm home more. It's easier for me to throw in laundry, start dinner, whatever. And now that I'm just kind of doing YouTube right now, I definitely have a lot more time to be doing things. And so I know, and just having my mom raise us as a homeschool stay-at-home mom, she worked so hard. She worked so ridiculously hard to do a good job raising us, which she did do a good job raising us. So this isn't to say that it's not hard work, but it is a very different lifestyle than somebody that's going into an office that is in a career that is making their own money.
Help you be a better homemaker, a better stay-at-home mom, whatever. It's just something that amplifies who you are as a person. So no matter the environment, if you're in the hospital ward, if you're teaching kids, if you're home doing whatever, this will give you confidence and elegance and honestly maturity.
Kind of cracking up at the fact that the three options she gave for mothers are being a homemaker, a nurse, or a teacher. Like, I'm thinking of just like the average modern woman as I'm talking through this, women that are working in offices, women that are working in STEM, women that are in leadership positions, women that are the breadwinners, okay? That's what I'm thinking about when I'm talking about this. And again, it's not to demean any career. Teachers work so hard. Nurses, so hard. That is not to demean any career, but it just feels a little bit sexist in this context to limit women's options to homemaking, nursing, and teaching.
As you step into any arena in your life. A ladylike perspective and state of mind can help you achieve success because, like I keep saying, it's about building confidence and playing up your femininity so that you will be extra charming and inviting to everyone around you. And so many of my videos are about femininity as it relates to other people. How can we be a magnet to those around us? And that
I feel like this is kind of a privileged take to have. As a woman, I do not really want to be a magnet to everyone around me. That feels unsafe. I want to obviously be inviting and caring and loving to the people around me at all times, but I'm really not just trying to attract people to me at all times. I'll let her keep going to see if that's really what she's saying. But I don't think that that's really safe or realistic for most women, especially women that are in a working environment.
That includes ladylike behavior. How does that help us be a magnet to those around us? How does it help us bring more joy into our lives? And am I a perfect lady? Am I a lady all the time? No. Honestly, I don't think anyone is. Everyone likes to unwind, but I do think we can use elements of ladylike behavior.
I would say that I'm a lady all the time. I'm a woman all the time. And that doesn't change based on what I'm wearing. It doesn't change based on my environment. It doesn't change. It's just who I am. It's just the traits that I have. It's just who I am. And I think it's interesting that she keeps saying that it's not an act. It's not something that you act out. But then she's saying, I can't do it all the time. You know, I have to unwind sometimes. That to me tells me that it is a little bit more of an act for her. And I don't use the word act or performance of femininity in a negative way. If you guys know a better way to word that, please let me know. But what I'm talking about is like really actively putting in work to engage with it, not just something that is naturally occurring. I think you can do things to be gender affirming that is extra work for you, like getting your hair done, like dressing a certain way, if those are things that you enjoy, but that doesn't really seem like what we're talking about here.
Yourself with grace and elegance, physiologically and mentally. So physiologically, physically, carry yourself with good posture, carry yourself with your head, not like looking down on others, but up. If you haven't taken a dance class, I really think it's a great thing for all women to take, but always imagine a string from this part of your head pulling yourself up like a ballerina. You can always watch a couple YouTube videos from ballerinas about posture, but that's a great way to open yourself up to the world.
Is she genuinely suggesting that busy modern women go watch videos from ballerinas about posture?
Shoulders back. You guys know I always talk about keeping your butterfly wings up, not hunched over. And this goes for even when you're lounging at a cafe, looking at your phone, being hunched over. Your phone can first of all, lead to neck issues, but it also just gives off that unladylike posture.
I don't think that your posture defines whether or not you are a lady or whether someone is going to recognize you as a lady. Sure, your posture can make you look more confident. It can make you whatever. Like, there may be a small piece of truth here, but for women who are looking for advice about being more feminine, advice about posture to me just feels so superficial and genuinely is going to get you nowhere. It might make you feel a little more confident, not feminine, but confident. But I don't think you're going to get this reaction from other people. And it seems like because so much of this is a performance, it is about how they're being perceived by other people. This is completely about how they want to be perceived by other people. And maybe that is the difference in our definition, is that for them, it's about how other people perceive them. And for me, it's about like people perceiving who I really am and me just existing naturally. And so maybe to you, that's why I said maybe I perceive myself as having more of a feminine personality, but maybe over my YouTube, you're looking at me in the way that I talk or the way that I word things and you go, you're totally not feminine. Okay, that's fine.
So carry yourself physically more just confident and open with good posture, and you'll just begin to exude that ladylike presence. And I promise you, when you show up to a first date with your shoulders back and your head held high, you're showing your date, hey, I value myself, I'm confident, you're not gonna give me the runaround, you're not gonna treat me like garbage, but also I'm a confident, happy, fun person to be around. That's a great message to share through body language on a date. Likewise, in a job interview or when you've got the job, carrying yourself with good posture exudes a sense of power to people around you, and not, again, in a way where you're gonna overlord it over people, but
is power feminine? I think that's the question we need to ask ourselves. I think they're mixing up confidence with femininity, and I think that you can be feminine and confident, but they keep talking about feminine power moves, which to me is kind of an oxymoron. They kind of conflict with each other because femininity to me is not about power moves. It's a descriptor of your personality. It's not an act or a chess game. And maybe, once again, that's just why we see this differently, I suppose. All right, that last clip I kept a little bit short, and we're going to go into another video where she talks even more about performing femininity and what that looks like. This is the third and final past video, and then we'll get into her very most recent video about femininity and what that looks like so that we can talk about it. And you can see that her views have changed a little bit, but really not much over the years. Let's get into the next clip.
Feminine girl, the girl that someone could just look at and just know that she exudes femininity. She is confident and she has those qualities of that girl as well, living her best, healthy, and productive life. Of course, no one has it all together, you're myself included, but we are on the level up side of YouTube where we like to talk about how we can improve, how we can become more productive, and how we can become more feminine. So why not indulge in a little brainstorming today to figure out how we can level up a little bit and become that feminine girl. We're not talking about how to be childish, how to be a little girl, how to wear pink tutus. We're talking about how to step fully into your femininity as a woman. And this, as you know, is one of my favorite topics on my channel. I have a ton of videos about this because when I think of femininity, I think of someone who is mature, elegant, sure of herself, healthy, and just full of joy and warmth and light, that nurturing spirit I've been talking about now for years. And that's what I love about this kind of abstract description of femininity, because it can include any woman, whether you are.
I don't think she knows what femininity is. I think that she really has, like, anything that she likes, just as a woman, I think she assumes is feminine. And maybe that's where we're getting, because even as I've obviously watched these videos before I've started reacting to them, I had to record them. Throughout it, I just kept going, what? Like, I feel like I cannot get a grasp on exactly what she's talking about. And I'm confident that I know what that word means, but that's why I looked up the definition for us earlier, because I'm just like, what are we talking about? Feminine power moves, especially in this context. Like, I could understand talking about this in the way of like feminism, right? But we're not talking about feminism. We're talking about being under the leadership of your husband. We're talking about women wanting to perform and appear a certain way that is supposedly in line with their religious beliefs, okay? We're not talking about feminism, because I think in that context you could say like feminine power moves but in this context that really doesn't make sense. So I'll allow her to keep talking, but I just want to point these things out. Please let me know in the comments. Even if you guys leave 6 comments, I don't care. I would love to hear your thoughts on this, because this is a longer video and we go through a lot of content. But at this point, I am kind of rethinking for the first time, does Mrs. Midwest know what femininity is? Or maybe because it's just such a theme on her channel, maybe she's expanded that kind of definition personally to just be anything that she likes. Like she is the epitome of femininity. That could be the case. I don't know.
15 or 50, whether you're a mother of 5 or you're a dog mom, you're in college, you live in America, you live elsewhere. It doesn't matter. It's applicable to all women. So the first area I would recommend to kind of sort out if you want to be that feminine girl would be living into your natural beauty. You know that I like makeup, you know that I like to do my hair, and you know that I like to dress up nicely. So when I say natural beauty, I'm not talking about a no makeup look. I'm not talking about throwing away your curling iron or never getting a blowout, but what I am saying is that that feminine girl is going to be someone who lives into her natural beauty. This would be things like embracing your natural beauty and celebrating the things about you, your skin, your hair texture that just fit you and suit you, rather than trying to totally transform into somebody else. I think there can be this extreme version of feminine beauty, and you see it a lot on YouTube, really excessive use of makeup and hair, kind of in an impractical way for day-to-day life.
And I don't mean this in a negative way at all, because you guys, I think Mrs. Midwest is beautiful, right? When I think about enhancing natural beauty, I'm probably not thinking about expensive regular bleaching that you have to keep up with. I'm not thinking about like harsher makeup, harsher eyebrows, harsher lipstick, full coverage. That to me, and it's beautiful, and she is naturally beautiful, and I don't want anyone, like, if you do your hair or makeup like her, she looks great, okay? I don't have an issue with it, but to me, is this enhancing natural beauty? And if so, what does, like, going beyond that look like then? Genuinely, what more could she do? I think that, to me, it would appear that she's probably had some cosmetic processes done. Again, no issue with that as well, but when we're talking about enhancing natural beauty and her kind of critiquing other channels for maybe doing unmaintainable things to their hair or with their makeup, I look at her and say that what she's doing to me feels unmaintainable. Like, I can't maintain blonde personally at this time in my life with my finances right now. Like, I just can't maintain blonde. Beyond that, like, I buy drugstore makeup, cheap drugstore makeup, and as you guys know in my videos, I keep it pretty natural and light. Like, I don't do super heavy makeup. If I do wear makeup in my videos, sometimes I don't. And I don't feel that that makes me more feminine than her or and anything. So this isn't negative, but what does enhancing natural beauty look like then? Or what is going beyond that? Where is the limit? If you were watching this as a Christian and she's saying, focus on your, natural beauty and enhancing that, but you're looking at her and going, well, she looks beautiful. She's kind of this conservative ideal, frankly, but I would need to get cheek fillers and lip filler and maybe Botox and start, shelling out $500 every month and a half to keep up with my blonde. I don't know. You guys get what I'm saying. We'll keep going.
Living. And I think it can kind of scare people off from exploring makeup or exploring their hair because it seems so extreme, but you can, I think, enhance your natural beauty and celebrate the beautiful things about you without totally going overboard and transplanting someone else's face onto your body. This includes figuring out what colors look best on you, trying to dress in a way that enhances your beauty. So you're not totally blending into the background like no one notices you, but you're also not like, look at me, like everywhere you go. There's a nice elegant balance there, and I think that's a way to celebrate your natural beauty. Putting on just a little bit of makeup. Don't leave the house without the lip gloss or the lipstick. Just putting on those extra touches, like an earring, or making sure your nails are clean, your jewelry is clean. All of those things contribute to celebrating your natural beauty, because you could be the most beautiful woman in the world, but if you are extremely unkempt and you have chipped nails and you're wearing colors that aren't flattering or clothes that aren't flattering and you just kind of look a little off, it's going to take away from that feminine look that we're going for.
Do we agree with this, you guys? I try to put it both ways. Like, if I were to say this about men, if I said, hey men, taking care of your hygiene will make you appear more masculine to women, I would actually agree with that. Obviously, taking care of yourself is going to make yourself more attractive to other people, right? Do I think that makes you more feminine or masculine? Or is that, again, just kind of an attractiveness, confidence thing where it will make people more attracted to you? Obviously, I do think that it would be hard if you're going for a feminine aesthetic if you don't do basic hygiene, or like you haven't washed your clothes in 6 months. That could make it hard to achieve that specific aesthetic. But I think for men too, who want to appear like a confident masculine man, are they going to appear as confident if they're slouching and haven't washed their clothes in 6 months? Again, it's not a negative thing, but does this really have anything to do with femininity?
And honestly, what better way to enhance your natural beauty than by wearing flattering, elegant materials? And as you can see, I'm wearing a very luxurious and beautiful piece right now, which I think is enhancing my natural beauty, which does bring me to the...
It does bring her to an ad read, so we're going to skip that ad read because I don't really care for the ad read. I think that you can dress in ways that are going to help you appear more feminine in that feminine aesthetic. But for me, again, it comes down to your personality and your personality traits and the way that the world, like how people perceive your true self to be, your character to be, like your personality traits to be. That's what I think femininity is. I don't think it's just about the aesthetic. I've met women who dress extremely feminine, but have extremely, what I would consider masculine personalities. And I love them and they're powerhouse women and there's nothing wrong with that. But is it more of your style? Is it a personal style thing, or is it who you are? And I think, yeah, again, this just goes back to the difference between Mrs. Midwest and I's opinion on it. But when we look at the Bible, when the Bible talks about being a woman or femininity, it talks about your personality. It talks about making sure that you are exuding the fruits of the spirit, or like, it talks about who you are in the inside. And so because I was raised heavily evangelical, maybe that's why it's my association, but she comes from similar viewpoints. And so it is a little confusing to me why it's so wrapped up with this outward performance or this outward, like, have good posture. To me, that's not feminine, that's just good advice. You know what I'm saying?
Show off your womanly shape. All of this is going to help you stand out as that feminine girl, because it's so easy to identify you as a woman, and not just a woman, but a woman who is comfortable and confident in her body. Confident enough to wear something that's, again, not tacky, like, look at me, I want all the attention in the world, but a piece that makes you look beautiful and signals to the world, I'm a feminine woman and I'm comfortable with that. Hear me roar. And we're all gonna have days where we want to wear that hoodie and maybe just do our makeup and call it a day. I have those days too. But if you want to come across as feminine with putting in kind of like not that much effort, the clothing you wear has...
All right, this is going to be the end of that section. We are going to get into the main clip that I want to focus on because we are obviously getting pretty far into this video already. But I just really wanted to show you that it is a lot for her about how you perform, how you dress, how other people are going to perceive you. And I think that that's something that is going to make the goalpost always move for you. There's always going to be ways to improve your femininity. And I don't think that that's necessarily a healthy or wise way to evaluate yourself. There are masculine men and feminine men. There are men that are mixes, and it's the same goes for women. And there are people that don't fit into any of those categories, and that's okay. You don't have to force yourself to be something that you're not. If you enjoy playing with fashion and style and you want to watch a video because you know that you love feminine fashion or hyper feminine fashion, then great, that's fine. But I don't think that if you are just generally looking for like ways to influence your husband to be more masculine, that this is probably the best route to go.
What does it mean to have a feminine mindset? How do I approach this in my life? And just some general tips and advice I have for building and growing and fostering and nurturing a feminine mindset. Because, spoiler alert, it's not something that comes naturally to everybody. It's not something that we're necessarily going to know how to do without a bit of nudging or tips and tricks along the way, myself included. You know, positioning your thinking and desires in a way to maximize your feminine growth. Femininity to me is an evolving concept. It's something non-physical but present in the mind, kind of like the concept of justice or love or beauty.
Do you guys understand what she's saying there? She doesn't. This is just confirmation to me that she does not know. She is not working off of any definition of femininity. It's just something that is like things she likes. She believes she is she is the femininity, and so if she likes it, that means that it is feminine by nature. That's just what I have to believe, because what? Mrs. Midwest, please, you gotta give us a working definition. I'm gonna let her keep going, but once again, all of that, saying it doesn't come naturally to people, it's something you have to develop. She's kind of getting into her new views more into saying you should want to be this way as a woman. She's becoming more controversial and leaning into these things. So I was hoping that she would evolve over time, but it seems like it's kind of devolved over time. And to me, her personality has become even more rigid, even more aggressive, and things that I would associate with masculinity. So it's something to keep in mind as we continue watching this.
We know it when we see it and feel it, but it's hard to define, and it looks different depending on the circumstances. So to me, femininity can manifest in women of all ages, cultures, bodies, and lives.
And why wouldn't it? Femininity has a definition, and it's of like describing things that would normally relate to women or girls, okay? That is what it means. So why wouldn't women of all cultures, women and all girls, have feminine traits? That would, of course. Why wouldn't all bodies have this? Why? It's weird to even say.
But it has inherent similarities. So the first one is going to be nurturing. That is the number one kind of characteristic of femininity. Blossoming, kind of similar but a bit different. Blossoming. Creating, the idea of creating. Creating is different than nurturing. Creativity, the essence of like having a creative energy. It also, to me, especially as I've gotten older, I've seen how femininity is interlocked with the concepts and the essence of rest and peace, you know, being at rest, being serene, that serenity, that sanguine energy. And then finally, freedom and whimsy. So when we...
All right, I have a couple thoughts. So freedom and whimsy goes along, and there's no issue, you guys, if you want to do this, if you have more of a whimsical personality. But if whimsy doesn't come naturally to you, trying to force yourself to do that is going to come across as just being childlike, and that is what gets a lot of hate in this community. It is just something that is overplayed, and it dumbs down women, and it goes against all of her advice about being confident.
Think of femininity, it's that airy kind of flowery concept. It's very different from masculinity. So to position your...
I think that creating is both masculine and feminine, especially when you look at Christian literature. God is the creator. God is undoubtedly according to most traditional Christian beliefs. I'm not saying that you might not doubt it, but the Christian God is undoubtedly a male, right? And he is the creator. He is unendingly creative and nurturing. And so how can we say that those traits are inherently feminine? I did give you guys nurturing as part of a feminine trait, but I don't think that it's solely feminine. I don't think that being creative is solely feminine. When you look at things that have been, there are so many artists, composers that are men that have been hugely creative, world-changingly creative. The idea that femininity is interlocked with rest and peace is also not really biblically accurate, right? When you look at the Bible, when you look at the Proverbs 31 woman, what is she doing? She's rising before dawn. She's running multiple businesses. She's raising children. She's keeping the home. She's going to bed after it's dark. Nowhere in there does it say that she takes a lot of leisure time and spends a lot of time on her appearance. That's not the biblical woman, right? And so it is a little bit confusing. Some of these things do contradict the Bible. And I know that Mrs. Midwest is, yes, she's coming from not exactly the same background that I am, but we did read and revere the same book. And so I do think that it's something just worth considering here. Airy and flowery, how does that fit together with her previous definitions that were about being confident and powerful, feminine power moves? It doesn't connect for me.
Yourself in a feminine mindset, I would encourage you to start by realizing that if you are a woman, you are capable of getting in touch with your feminine side. It does not matter how much of a tomboy or how much of a not like other girls you view yourself. If you are a woman, you can get in touch with this side. This is a take it or leave it kind of thing. I just think a lot of people who end up taking it get a lot of benefit from it, and that's why I'm passionate about it. For me personally, femininity has helped me bloom and grow. It's helped me grow in self-confidence and joy and peace. It's helped me de-centered from the ideas and opinions of other people. It's helped me find my joy in life in creating and nurturing and really living up to my full potential as a woman. I can also tell you that you might be surprised by the positive reactions of the people around you. Not just men, but your friends, young children, even your coworkers or random people you encounter. There's something about true, vibrant femininity that is like, it leaves a mark on the people around you as much as it leaves a mark on yourself.
I can't personally think of somebody that has been feminine that has like left a mark on me because of their femininity. Can you guys? Like, I can think of people that I would describe as feminine, but I don't think it was like they exuded. It was in how they behaved and interacted with other people and the small moments and just who they were as people. It wasn't some sort of vibe that they gave off. It was something that was a lot more deep than that and something core to who they were. I do think that kind of describing it as in childish language does a disservice to women, because I do think that femininity is a beautiful thing, and I do think that femininity is something that it's a set of traits that men and women or people that don't identify as either can possess.
So when we think of an iconic feminine woman, it's so true to me, like that just sticks with you. When you see it, you know it, like the aura, the energy, the peace within her, you know, and then we wonder, like, why is she like that? Is it inherent? Was she born like that? Like, how does this happen? And my answer is no. I don't think that somebody is just born like this. I think it flows from the mindset. And I think some people do have a childhood or a life experience that naturally nurtures that feminine mindset. Maybe they had a lot of freedom to express themselves as a child. Maybe they had a lot of encouragement and nurturing, or maybe their own example of a very feminine woman that helped them grow in that. But
I don't think that's true. I think, again, men can be feminine and masculine. Women can be feminine and masculine. It's not one or the other, and I think that this has a lot to do with your own personality, and sure, maybe there are traits, feminine traits that you've always had that you have felt like you've squashed down because you've been in an unsafe environment to express that. Maybe same with men that have feminine traits that squash those down, but those traits were always there for you. Those traits were always within you. So I think is this already within me? I don't think it's something that you have to develop. I think it's something that you maybe get more comfortable with if you want to express it, and then you start expressing it after not being able to. But you know that that's always been there. That's always been part of you, and it's always been within you. I do think it is built into you in a personality thing, and you can choose to feed that if it's a natural trait of yours, but not everyone has those traits.
Not all of us had that, right? Not all of you had that. Now, we do not live in a feminine world. That is kind of the harsh truth, right? Like, I would actually say childhood for a lot of people is the time when you can actually be the most, free, at peace, creative, that soft version of life. But when we grow up, when we have to get a job, when we're a parent, when we have responsibilities, when we have bills to pay, when there's wars happening in the world, you kind of can't get in touch with that softer side of yourself, right? I think if you tap into a feminine mindset, you can take this mindset no matter where you're at in life, even through stressful times. So to me, the opposite of femininity really isn't masculinity. I think we need to tap into both those things. I think they're very complementary. I think the opposite of femininity is negative stuff, like a harsh mindset, punishing, cruel, overly restrictive, grinding, anxious, stressed, self-conscious. That's the mindset we're trying to get away from, right? When you feel stifled, you're depressed, you're down, you're dark. Like, this femininity stuff can really help people get out from that mindset. I think
But if those negative things aren't masculine, then why are we encouraging people to be specifically feminine? Does that make sense? Why aren't we just encouraging people to get out of that mindset and honor their own natural feminine and masculine traits? Why are we encouraging women to only nurture their feminine traits? Why are we only focusing on that?
The opposite of femininity isn't masculinity. I think it's destruction. Just like I think the opposite of masculinity isn't femininity. I think it's destruction. I think femininity and masculinity are very complementary. And when you have a toxic version of either one, or you have the opposite of those things, that's where you get destruction and disaster. So I think tapping into your masculine isn't a bad thing. Becoming
I do not agree that the opposite of femininity and masculinity is destruction. I don't really know what that means or how that would play out. Is she saying non-binary people exist? I'm not saying they're necessarily the opposite of femininity and masculinity, but what is she really trying to say with that? This really feels like it has not been thought out. I don't know if she knows exactly what she is trying to say here, or maybe I'm just misunderstanding, in which case you guys please do explain it, because I'm not trying to mock her. I am trying to wrap my head around this, but I've watched this 3 times now and I just can't get there. And this third time that I'm watching it, I'm noticing so many more things and just inconsistencies.
We're going to be protective. I have to do that. I'm a mom. I bring my kids out into the world, and sometimes freaks are around and I need to I'm in my masculine all of a sudden. That's okay. It's good. God has given us these things to tap into and out of. And can men be feminine in a healthy way? Perhaps tapping into their creativity or their rest or their freedom. That's not this video. That's not my spot to speak about. But I think it's an interesting thing to think about. Instead of being so black and white, women have to act like this, they have to do this, and they can never act like a man, they can never do this. I think it's important to have a more nuanced understanding of these very high level concepts.
These aren't really high level concepts. These are pretty low level concepts, in my opinion, that are adjectival. Is that a word? They're an adjective. They're just descriptive words, and they're not super hard to understand. I think that she is actually making it into something bigger than it is. I don't really agree with the use of language tapping into your masculine. It's you're tapping into these different personalities or facets. It's all you, baby. It's all you. My masculine and feminine traits, they're all me. They all make up me. I'm not tapping into different facets of myself. I always am using 100% of myself to do the best that I can. And maybe sometimes there are, but it's not this special mode that I'm tapping into and now I'm in my masculine. I don't really agree with that type of terminology. And I don't think that it's really reflective of how personalities or real life actually works.
When you really think about it, it's not as simple. It's not as simple as just wearing a dress. Watch any of my feminine clothing videos. It's much more complicated than that, because you can't just slap a dress on somebody and they're just well, now they have a feminine mindset. No, it doesn't work like that. It comes from within. And I really think it's something that you can hone and practice like a muscle. For me personally, femininity has helped me bloom and grow. I think also, just to further make my point on tapping into the masculine, let's think about birth. I've had vaginal birth, I've had C-section, right? So birth as it's designed is vaginal birth. You have to tap into the most hardcore cave woman side of yourself to push that baby out of you. Very few of us have the baby just came out kind of story. It's like you grind down, you push, right? And what is more inherent to being like at the center of womanhood and femininity than the idea of birth? Like, it makes us so different from men, right? Birth, pregnancy. Pregnancy, very feminine. You know, I'm resting, I am nurturing this child. But
tell me if your pregnancy era, if you look back on that and say, ooh, resting. I've never heard a pregnant woman say that their pregnancy era has been filled with just rest and like glowing. Just a little bit funny to me. I've never been pregnant. I've never had a baby, so.
I don't think that a lot of us are designed to just be pushing every single day of our life. And I think that's why the grind can be a lot for women. I think that's why it can be very exhausting to have a hardcore career. I think that's why a lot of women don't want those careers where I'm in the infantry, in the Marines, or I'm a fighter pilot. Like, that happens, sure, but a lot of women are attracted to careers where it's like, I do hair, I get to express my creativity, I'm a teacher, I work with children, I nurture them, I'm a social worker, I care for the needy, I'm a nurse, I care for people, right? Like, why do we have these patterns, these sociological patterns? It's because of femininity.
No, it's not. There's a lot of research that's been done on this, and as time has gone on, we're seeing more male teachers, more male flight attendants, more females in STEM, more females in leadership, right? But when you have generations of people who are looking up to their parents who have always done one certain type of career, it's a lot easier to follow in those footsteps, or that's just what you know to be interested in. And so it is taking a while for things to change, but it's not that women are just inherently more interested in teaching. It also is just the representation in media. If every nurse on TV is a woman and every teacher is a woman, little boys might not dream of growing up to be a nurse or a teacher, but this isn't something that's inherently feminine. I would say that there are a lot of, there's a lot of parts of nursing and teaching that are not glamorous or restful. I would not describe them as glamorous or restful at all.
It's because of what's within you, that desire to nurture. But this world is harsh, and it sometimes requires a lot of exertion. And that's what I love about femininity. It helps you build back your energy stores so you can get through those hard times in life. I've had hard times in life. When my husband had his car accident and I got bit by a dog, my grandpa died, and then I was taking care of two under two at the same time, and we were in and out of the hospital. He couldn't walk. It was crazy, right? I had to kind of dig down. I was not free. I was not creative and blossoming and blooming in that season of my life. But I had been for a while, so I had energy and I pushed through and it was fine, right? Like, that's what's cool about femininity. It's not weak. It's about building up energy so that you can tap in for beautiful, amazing things like being creative, blessing your family, blessing your relationships, just slow and steady energy output, cooking in the kitchen, working in your garden, or big bursts of energy where you need to like dig down, right? So I have come up with some easy points, practical and otherwise, to guide us through this. So sometimes I think it can be difficult to just say, stop doing this stuff. So today I'm going to say, instead of stop, I'm going to say seek. Seek this stuff. Instead of stop, blah, 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 I'm going to say seek this stuff. So firstly, seek beauty. Now, what am I saying? Am I saying we all must get Vogue magazine and start investing all of our money in handbags and lash extensions? No. Seeking beauty is a mindset. It's a feminine mindset. So yes.
God seeks beauty is God feminine. God created everything beautiful and good. Is God feminine? I'm just curious.
Seeking beauty in yourself, but let's step back from there. Let's start with finding beauty around you, appreciating nature and the world, appreciating, creation, kind of literally touching grass, literally stopping to smell the roses, tapping into that physical world that we live in, and the feminine The feminine act of seeking beauty, that is something that is so feminine, because when you're fighting a war, no one has time to stop and smell the roses, literally. That's what makes femininity so special. It opens up a moment for your mind to take a little rest. It's a
Femininity has nothing to do with any of that. This idea, like I said, I've only recently entered a stage of life where I have been able to be creative and spend money on things like my hair or whatever. Even be able to afford like creamer for my coffee. And I was still feminine. That wasn't taken away from me. And I think that she's coming from a very privileged place that assumes that women are going to be able to just like store up these rest periods. For many women, there is not really like a rest period in sight, right? Like they're working full time, they're raising kids, they're working hard, everything is a struggle. And this just isn't realistic to tell people that you have to like build up these reserves in when are these rest periods for the modern people? Modern parenting is difficult and not super realistic these days. So I don't know. I just feel like a lot of this advice it's very privileged. It's it fails to see what women actually deal with today. And I think that it does a disservice by telling women that by engaging with the needs of their family and taking care of them and not being able to have these like rest periods that she's talking about to be creative and playful, they're less of a woman, they're going to be less feminine because of that. I think that's really unfair.
Massages and soothes, and it's good for the heart and the soul to seek beauty. So avoiding the opposite of that would be avoiding harsh and taxing situations if you can. Finding beauty in yourself, right? Appreciating your own beauty, appreciating the way you look, seeking beauty by seeking to bless your own beauty. Now, I'm a glam girl. I like my nails. I like my blow up. I like my lashes, my lips, right? That's how I do it. You don't have to do that. Just wash your hair, luxuriate in some exfoliating skin removal, get out into the sun, get some vitamin D, wear clothes in your color season, my friends. Figure out how to get your hair healthy. Figure out what best colors work on you. Massage the beauty in yourself by taking care of yourself. Then when you look in the mirror, you see, oh, what a beautiful woman God has made. It does not matter what you look like. You are beautiful the way God has made you. We can have fun and enhance, like go glam like me. I still think I'm beautiful the way God made me. I like to have fun and creativity with the makeup and stuff. But in general, because I work out, because I sleep well, because I take care of my health, I do feel beautiful and seeking beauty.
I don't disagree with it, but again, I just don't think this is realistic for most people. Like I said, for most of my young adult life, I couldn't afford both groceries and hygiene products in the same weeks, okay? So to go get a luxurious exfoliating scrub and to do these things, you do the best that you can with what you have. You exfoliate with your washcloth or whatever, but this just assumes a lot, and I think that it puts down women that are lower income, in poverty, women that are single and struggling, just modern women who are struggling to make it through in today's economy. I think that this is very unrealistic and assumes that you have someone supporting you or helping fund some of these things.
Isn't vain with yourself. It's taking care of the temple God has made you. Now, can we become obsessive? Can we become worried about stunting on other people? Yes. And that's actually the opposite of seeking beauty, because that's an ugly mindset, right? So
taking care, when God talks about your body being a temple, I think you could reasonably say things like, don't smoke, your body is a temple. Maybe don't engage in risky sexual behavior because you want to protect your body's a temple. Okay, these are things that would make sense. Putting makeup on and buying expensive exfoliation products and dyeing your hair blonde every 3 weeks is not taking care of the temple. The Bible actually explicitly says that it's not about your external adorning. It's not about the external things. And I'm not even a Christian, and I know this. And so I just want to point that out. I feel like this is it's starting to irritate me more the longer that I watch this, because it is so demeaning to women who do, people are watching this looking for real advice, and they are going to walk away trying to apply this because it feels good on the surface. The way that she words things doesn't sound offensive, but when you actually try to apply it, it just will feed people this shame and this negativity and make them feel like failures.
Everything in moderation, balance, but seeking beauty through even just enjoying what you're wearing. Wearing a ring that you really like, wearing earrings that make you happy. Again, the colors, I think the colors is like a really big thing. Color season. Just seeking beauty in your appearance. Now, moving forward from that, seeking beauty in your home. Keeping it clean. Keeping it clean. Bare minimum. Keeping it clean. Keeping it tidy. Clean and tidy are two different things. Tidy is putting all your things away. Clean is getting all the gunk and grime off the floor, off the counters, off the cabinets. So clean and tidy. That's why people say clean and tidy.
I don't want to be a bean soup person and be like, well, what about this and what about this the whole video? Because I'm sure that she is assuming that you are someone that has the bandwidth to keep your house clean. But for a lot of people, that kind of is the bare minimum. For stay-at-home moms, this can be way harder than it sounds. And I just want to point that out and acknowledge that it's a lot easier if you have a lot of money and a lot of help and a lot of good cleaning products. I mean, when I used to try to clean my apartment, I had a shitty vacuum. I was going to the dollar store to get cleaning products. I couldn't afford things like gloves to clean or whatever. And no matter how much I would vacuum, it was always filthy because I just could not afford a better vacuum. I actually got the vacuum for free and couldn't afford to buy anything else. I just don't ever want people, I remember watching Christian content or religious content or content that would fall in line with my religious beliefs. Content like this that would just make me feel so bad about myself and be like, yeah, how am I feminine? My place is trashed. But the reality was, I was working 2 full-time jobs. I was even past college, working 2 jobs. I was completely financially responsible for everything. I was doing all the cleaning, all the cooking, all of the pet stuff. Like, it becomes very difficult. It becomes not as simple as possible. And I do think it's good advice, yes. Be clean and tidy if you can, you guys. This is going to be good for your mental health. It's going to be good for you. But also, if your house doesn't look like the background of hers or the background of mine, that's okay. It's okay. It's just okay. That doesn't make you less of a woman or less feminine in any way.
It's not clean or tidy. It's clean and tidy. Do both. Organize your stuff. Have everything have a home in your house. And then after that, decorate. Your girl loves to decorate. Part of the way my husband helps me nurture my femininity is he doesn't shut me down when I try to decorate the house. He lets it happen, right? Nesting. Nesting is something pregnant women do, right? And again, such a feminine act, being pregnant. I know not everyone will be able to be pregnant in their lifetime. That's not to say you're not a feminine woman if you can't be pregnant. It's just part of the female DNA, how God made it, is pregnancy is part of that, right? So when we think of pregnancy and we think of those hormones that drive women to nest and curate and collect and organize, we can do that even without being pregnant.
We can, but once again, it does assume that you have the resources available. I only this year have been in a financial position where I could afford decor. And did I try to still make things look okay? Yes, I did. I have my blanket ladder and I crocheted blankets, which actually is kind of expensive to do, but whatever, it's my hobby. I tried to paint things. I hung up paintings that my sister gave me. Like, I took free plants off of Facebook Marketplace and tried to use that. Yes, you can do things. I'm not saying that you can't do anything here, but it assumes that you have the means to do this. And I don't think a lot of people do. I think a lot of people that are wealthy, like Mrs. Midwest, who is related to Ben Shapiro, if you didn't know, people like Mrs. Midwest that are wealthy, I think they are extremely out of touch with how the average American household is going and how finances are being handled. I don't think most of us have to save up to do a remodel or buy new furniture, or, even picture frames are like freaking expensive. Rugs are super expensive. So it's not for most people, even if they normally would enjoy being creative in that way, it's not fun to try to scrounge together and, cobble things together when you don't have any money, and you're not going to achieve the vision that you want, and you can't really afford it anyway. I don't want to make this whole video being like, not everyone can do this, but I just think a lot of her views are so out of touch, because the truth is most people cannot just express their creativity by starting to nest as a hobby. If you can, that's great, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's great to take pride in your home and to build a beautiful home, and that could be a way to express femininity for you, but for a lot of people, it's really not that simple, and people have to prioritize things like clothes and food and paying off their debt before they can really start getting into, luxurious home decor.
Nest in your own home. Nest. Make things great for you, as if you are the egg that is about to hatch. You are the egg that is about to hatch. Nest in your home for you. Don't just wait for something to fall into place in the future. Do it for yourself. That's a huge component of femininity, is prioritizing your own experience in the world, not in a selfish way, but in a way that can really add joy and self-discipline, because it takes self-discipline to nest. Have you guys seen how unorganized a home can get in some of these bachelor pads, right? Or like chaotic houses, like frat houses. Oh my goodness, like they need a touch of femininity. This isn't for the weak. Decorating, even people can look down upon it, but I'd like to see their home. It is not easy to know how high to place a picture or what colors go together. This takes effort. Don't look down upon it, right? Finding beauty means creating it for yourself in your environment. So also your car. I've said this since the beginning of my channel. Keep your car clean, vacuum, put things away. Find and seek beauty in your relationships too. So it can be easy in our relationships to look for the toxic narcissists, the negative stuff, the stuff that we're offended about. But try to take time to have gratitude. Think about your friends. Think about what you like about them. Seek the beauty in your friends. Think about what about them is different from you and what you love about that. Find fun things to do together.
Once again, I just wonder, this femininity definition of hers is so undefined, it's hard to follow along with. Is it feminine to have friends, folks? Is it feminine to spend time with them? Is it feminine to have a decent home environment? I think all of these are good things to do within reason, but I don't think that you should conflate it with your femininity, who you are as a woman, or your worth, or how well you are performing as a woman or a wife or a partner.
Seek beauty in those relationships. Bless others. That's a way to seek beauty in our relationships too. I love to create beautiful moments between me and my children. I like to bring them to beautiful locations where we can have a beautiful moment or do a fun activity. I like to meet them where they're at. I'll build them a fort in the basement, and we'll have a beautiful moment where they're happy and we're playing, and I like to play imagination with them, right? Like, seeking beauty is about so much more than the visuals of life. It's about building a beautiful life from the inside and out. And we can find beauty in relationships by creating beauty in relationships. And that's the amazing thing about being a feminine woman. It's a can-do attitude. It's like, okay, this relationship is looking a little gloomy. Let's add some beauty. Let's go on a date, hubby.
What do you guys think? I'm like starting to run out. It's not that I'm running out of words. It's like I'm just starting to even understand what she's saying even less. And it reminds me of when I was a young Christian and how overwhelming these types of videos would be, how overwhelming this type of advice would be, because when I would go, it would sound so great on the face, and then I would go to try to apply it, and it would be so unclear how to actually make these things happen. And then when I would think about it, it'd be like, is that even feminine? Like, if my boyfriend is treating me like shit, and I'm trying to add beauty and that fails, does that mean that I'm not feminine? Like, if he isn't stepping up, does that mean that I'm not feminine enough? If our home isn't decorated because I can't afford it, does that mean that I just need to start like plucking leaves off the ground and stringing them up on the shutters? Like, I don't know what she's expecting from the average women, but it just feels unrealistic. And it also doesn't feel like it has anything to do with femininity.
Oh, child, come over here. Let's have some cuddle time. Let's all go to the beach together. Let's have a beautiful memory. And also remembering too that seeking beauty means listening to other people and being a beautiful place for them to land, a safe place. Because what is more beautiful than somewhere safe? Safety and beauty, in my mind, go very hand in hand, because it's a beautiful thing to feel safe, and it's a safe thing to rest in beauty. God is beautiful above all else. He's a beautiful God, and he's safe. And I think when we can be a safe space for other people, a listening ear, an encouragement, a support, or sometimes, a bit of feedback, it's a beautiful thing to foster those things. It's a way to squeeze more beauty out of life. Finally, for seeking beauty, seek beauty in your routine. Have touch points of beauty that you can rest upon. This is part of having that feminine mindset. So it's not like I'm going to wake up and grind all day and bury myself into the ground. It's about touch points of beauty. So a sweet photo on your background. I keep my phone background so cute with all like colors that I like, that makes me happy, with pictures that I like. A nice song playing in your car. And a long time ago.
This reminds me of like when I would be in therapy and they'd be like, you just need to do some deep breathing exercises and that'll help your anxiety. If you guys have ever had for clinical anxiety, the breathing exercise, they might help if you're having a panic attack, but chronic all day long anxiety, no. It just feels so superficial. I'm like, oh my God, stop telling me to breathe. I do it all day long. I'm aware of my breath. I'm very mindful of my breathing. You know what I mean? It's what advice is this? Who is this legitimately going to help her be? Who is this making feel more feminine? Who is putting a background on their phone and then it feeling that way for them? I mean, let me know if that's you guys. I do think you can do little things to enhance your own personality, no matter what it is, your own style, those own traits. You can do whatever you want, but I don't think that these little touch points of beauty, like having your phone background be feminine, that's really not going to make a dent in a woman who is chronically stressed and running around and taking care of everybody else in her life.
Took the advice from my husband to stop listening to sad music and listen to happy music, and it actually improved my mood a lot. A nice cup of tea at the same time every afternoon or in the night, a nice group of friends to have brunch with regularly. To me, church is part of this. It's a beauty in my routine. Going to my aunt and uncle's on Sundays, it's a beautiful part of my routine that makes me happy. We're gonna have to do so many things in life that are miserable that it's nice to offset some of that with beauty. And I think too, that's why a lot of women do get into hair, makeup, all that, because it's a beauty focused part of routine. It's I'm gonna make myself look extra beautiful today, and it's just fun, and it really makes you get in touch with seeing beauty around you, seeing beauty within you, and seeing, most of all, this is the most important thing, seek the potential for beauty. And that's the classic Disney princess thing of she walks into a room and it's messy and trashed, but she sees potential. So she cleans it out and she paints the wall in a mural, and she looks at that person and, oh, you would look so good if you wore purple, and you make it beautiful. That's the power of that feminine mindset of what you touch turns beautiful. Moving forward from that.
Yeah, that's really easy to align with. Anything I touch turns beautiful. How would you guys apply that practically? Think about it for a second and genuinely drop a comment, let me know. How would you apply making everything you touch turn beautiful? I get the idea of it, and it sounds good when you're talking about Disney princesses, and who doesn't want to make everything they touch feel beautiful? I could totally get wanting to align with that. But in practice, how do I actually do that? How do you actually do that?
Seek rest. This is about peace, serenity, that quiet essence. And I know a lot of us, I'm a chatty girl, right? I have opinions, I have thoughts. The rest was hard for me on my femininity journey. Probably the hardest part. Being quiet. Peaceful. Not working yourself up about things. Taking naps. So a major component of femininity is the idea that we have the space and peace to bloom and grow.
That's where we're going to end this clip. This assumes so much. The video goes on to just make a lot of assumptions. Basically that you are a stay-at-home mom with a lot of access to money and outside help. And if that's the case, this video could be for you, and that this advice might be helpful if you are trying to perform hyper femininity. That being said, I don't think this is realistic for most women, and I also don't think that this is biblical. She presents things as if it does follow the Bible, but I do not believe that this really is biblical. I don't believe that this would be God's expectations of women. It's something that is rooted in sexism, frankly. I feel like a lot of these views are rooted in what men might view as like what they would like. If it feels like she like had a man write this for her. And again, the definition of femininity is so unclear and so personal to her that it is a little bit different. It is a little bit difficult to keep track of and hang on to throughout her video. Let me know what you guys think. I know this is a bit of a longer video, but let me know if you'd like me to make more that are a bit longer, and if you like this reactionary style video. I do like making them. They're obviously less work for me, but I'd always like to hear your thoughts before I lean fully into it. So let me know. Please like this video. Please hit share and copy link. You don't have to send it anywhere, I promise, but it helps way more than you think that it does. Please hit subscribe or double check to make sure that you are subscribed if you're not already, and comment a dove down below or something else if you want to support my channel. I really, really appreciate it, you guys, your views and the likes and the comments. It all means a lot to me, and yeah, I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Unfortunately, this is how a lot of you guys are starting to sound on social media. Get ready with me as a Christian girly to go grab my Christian matcha as I go to my Christian workout, so I can go after and grab my Christian laptop and go on my Christian internet and search up where to get my Christian breast reduction done, so I can have the Christian body that the body of Christ did for me, so I can be a good Christian girl. Being Christian is not a specific aesthetic. It is not. I hate to bring it to you. Being Christian is not a specific aesthetic. I just saw someone say she was a Christian nail tech, a Christian braider. What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we talking about? What is going on? I am so confused. Like I'm confused. I am confused. Like, I understand that there are certain things that you do as a Christian. You guys are losing me. I swear, I'm trying to understand. I can't.
3 years ago, I broke my crippling gooning addiction once and for all. But 32 months after giving my life to Christ, I realized nothing had changed. You see, I had one massive problem. I thought I was invincible to lust, yet I deliberately put myself in positions to see risky stuff. I was still a slave to temptation, and frankly, sometimes I still am. But it's fine, right? As long as I don't goon wrong. You see, it was never about gooning. It was about renewing my entire mindset. Now when I catch myself slipping, I don't just brush it off. I fight back. I pray, I repent, and I cut off the bait before I ever take it. Because real love never comes through vices of sin and quick hits of dopamine. It only comes from one place.